Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about the house that Dungeons and Dragons built, Legends of Vox Machina. And I'm going to tell you what the worst moment in the Legends of Vox Machina Amazon Prime, Season 1, Episode 5 is. All right, let's get into this. So the worst moment in Season 1, Episode 5 of Legends of Vox Machina Amazon Prime. By the way, there are spoilers for the entire first season of Legends of Vox Machina Amazon Prime in this, okay? So the worst moment is when Pike Trickfoot goes to a temple, and she talks to a temple guide there, and she's like, "I'm disconnected from Saren Ray. My holy symbol has been broken, and I can't connect to the Everlight." Right, and this is the worst moment. The temple guide says, "The problem is in you. It's not Saren Ray, and it's not your broken holy symbol. The problem lies in you," right? And I was like, "Oh my gosh, are you kidding me?" And the solution, and the only thing she didn't say was like every Disney movie line ever, and the solution was inside you all along. Because the reality is Hollywood never changes, right? Hollywood is godless, that rejects people who have faith, right? They're adamantly opposed to faith, right? And so basically, and actually it's fine for you to have faith and be spiritual as long as you don't mean it and you accept all other faiths, and you're like, well, I have this belief, but as soon as that belief doesn't, is offensive to you, I'll change it, right? Not oh, hey, this is a sacred text. This is written by God himself, and I need to believe it, right? It's just anybody who has faith and actually believes their faith and is not willing to abandon their faith immediately as soon as somebody tells them to abandon their faith, right? That's the faith they don't like. But spiritual but not religious, they love, because it's flexible nonsense. And actually, it's actually not flexible nonsense. It's humans are God, right? Everybody there's one question: who's God? Is God God? Or are humans God? Period. And it's end of sentence. And Hollywood is humans are God. Period. Done. Right? So basically, I was very frustrated with this moment, right? And the reason why is you have a player character, right? And so this was the worst moment because it was very Disney, and it was also tied to a major problem in Legends of Vox Machina Amazon Prime that I want to talk about now, connected to this, right? So Pike Trickfoot is essentially a character that is oh, me, why am I here? Am I a good cleric? Am I good at anything? Is there any value in me being on this team? Oh, me, oh my, I suck, right? All right, now that would be okay if Keyleth wasn't doing the same. She's like, "Oh, me, oh my, am I a good druid? I don't know, and I can't rule my people, and I suck," right? It frustrates me that it's there, right? So I want to get to this, right? I have a theory. I'm going to present my theory. I don't think it's a coincidence, all right? So first of all, I think Dungeons and Dragons is an incredibly complicated, life-changing thing, right? And I think it's a human improvement engine that is misunderstood. That's my humble opinion about Dungeons and Dragons, right? So one of the things I think happened is I think Marisha Ray and Ashley Johnson, Marisha Ray is running Keyleth, Ashley Johnson is running Pike Trickfoot. They both are doing the same thing, right? And it's completely meta and it's completely personal. This is just my opinion. I'm going to give you my advice. I'm going to give my evidence for it, okay? Marisha Ray and Ashley Johnson are the same people, right? Two young women who went to Hollywood. Tried to make it, right? From everything I've heard, and I think you've heard the same thing, right? Hollywood chews young women up and spits them out, right? The moment a young woman arrives in Hollywood, they're going to say that Hollywood is going to tell you with 50 different producers the same thing. You're too short, you're too ugly, you're not aggressive enough, your hair isn't long enough, you're too old, blah, 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 20 things, right? And I think Marisha Ray and Ashley Johnson got there, and just like every other beautiful, incredibly strong, incredibly independent woman, Hollywood just started to chew, tooth and claw, right? Just took it to them, right? And I think they heard so many times from so many producers and so many Hollywood people, "You're not good enough," that what their characters are is them building a simulacrum that holds all that Hollywood vitriol in there. And the reason why is, what's the alternative? That all these smart people have 7 characters and 2 of them have the same "I suck" line, right? Like that is like an absolute constant. Like, and they're like, oh, why am I here? Am I good? Can I, I know we need to slay a dragon, but can I even cast light? Or like, this is like, it's really deep and really strong and really repetitive, right? Like, and any good writer will tell you, hey, you don't put 2 characters in your book called Bob. There's got to be a Bob and a Joe, right? You don't do Bob and Bob, right? So if 2 women who both went to Hollywood have exactly the same storyline, meta storyline for their player character, I think it's a simulacrum that holds that, right? Now, I can't fix Marisha Ray and Ashley Johnson's problem. Now, you might be like, wait, what's their problem? They are absolutely massively successful. Not by their own definition, in my opinion. I'll bet you $1 million to 1, Marisha Ray and Ashley Johnson are not happy with where they landed. And the reason why is both of them are like, I want to be the next Jennifer Aniston, right? And instead I'm a voice actor, right? Like, I think that's what's happening, right? When I look at this, I don't think people this smart would put 2 characters. And why wouldn't somebody fix this? Well, they don't want to fix it because they don't want to have a conversation with Ashley Johnson or Marisha Ray saying, you are a valuable person and Hollywood is wrong about you, right? Because that gets really personal, right? And you actually can't, and your one voice, with no jobs attached, is never going to be stronger than 20 producers saying you're not good enough. I'm taking the next person over here, right? So I think that's the reason it's there, right? So this was definitely the worst moment in the show, but I'm going to try to get some good out of it, and I'm going to tell you the following, right? So this is my opinion, right? And I think this should be our response as dungeon masters and dungeon players. We live in the IRL world, and I'll tell you right now, I understand. I feel like I understand. So I told you my opinion of what's happening with these 2, with Marisha Ray and with Ashley Johnson, and why they both have the "I suck" storyline for their character, right? I think the reason why I think the response that the lesson we need to learn, right? Like none of us, no one in Critical Role could fix this problem for them, right? Because the reality is they wanted real Hollywood jobs. Like, they wanted to be, a Hollywood actress on screen doing the thing, right? That's my opinion. I could be wrong, but based on the evidence and everything I've seen, that's what I think happened. And also this comes from my opinion that absolutely no one in the world tries to be a voice actor, right? Actually, they're at the macro level, people don't try to be voice actors. At the macro level, you get voice actors when they fail to be real actors, right? And they're like, oh my gosh, I'm here and voice acting is better than waiting tables. So that's how you get most voice actors. 90%, 95, 99, right? Somewhere in there, the macro level, right? And so I think so how do we respond, and what's the lesson we learn? Well, so first of all, I feel like I definitely understand a little bit how Marisha Ray and Ashley Johnson are actually reacting to everything and are functioning, right? In that, I feel it, right? I don't work in Hollywood, but I have, I'm in this world just like you, right? And I think this world is harsh. This world is incredibly harsh. And people will line up to tell you suck. Take a look at my comments, right? The vast majority of my comments are like, Scott, you're wrong. Scott, you should have done this way. Scott, you should have done this, right? I would say maybe a quarter, if I'm lucky, maybe a third of the comments are positive. The vast majority of comments are negative, right? Scott, you should have done this different, right? And the reality is, this started when I was a kid, right? I had big ears when I was a kid. People were like, oh, I had big ears, and my parents would not buy me name brand shoes. So they're like big ear Bobo, and it started when I was 8, right? And the world was like, you suck, right? And it never stopped, right? I went into journalism when I was I did this college newspaper when people were like, oh, we don't like your editorials, blah blah blah, right? And just throughout my life, there's been a conga line of people saying, you don't matter, you suck, right? And I'll tell you right now, the way I've dealt with it is I tell myself, so one, I am an evangelical Christian, right? So I do know I have to be aware of pride, right? But because I'm an evangelical Christian, I know I need to, support my family and get things done, right? And I'm like, in this world, confidence is basic equipment for modern life, right? And so I give myself confidence every day. I know I'm made in God's image. That's number one, right? And then the other thing is I just refuse to believe the haters. Or I'm like, Scott, you rule, go crush it. And the reality is, if you don't tell yourself that you have value and that you're going to crush this world, ain't nobody going to do it for you. And so I really would just encourage you, do not go down this I suck role. Don't put it in your player characters, and don't allow it to exist in your real life, right? I fundamentally believe you cannot be a good dungeon master without confidence. So take it. Just tell yourself every day, I don't suck. I'm going to rule this world, and I ain't going to stop trying until I get to the top, right? And do not let a single hater ever disrupt your flow, because if you do, you're not going to make it to the top of the Dungeon Master pile. That's my 2 cents. What do you think? What do you think was the worst moment in Legends of Vox Machina Season 1, Episode 5? And how do you retain your confidence? Are you unlike me and the world tells you you're great every day? I think there's some people that live in that space. I'm not one of them, right? Or are you like me and you have definitely had haters in life? How did you handle it? How do you handle it today? I'd love to hear. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.